Excellence, Président Mamadou Issoufou de la République du Niger, Your Excellency, President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi, Chairperson of the African Union and President of the Arab Republic of Egypt, Excellencies, Heads of State and Government, Your Excellencies, distinguished First Ladies of Africa, Your Excellency, Chairperson of the African Union Commission, Your Excellency, Deputy Secretary General of the United Nations, Madame Amina Mohammed, Excellencies, Heads of African regional institutions and African regional banks, ministers and members of the diplomatic corps, distinguished guests, all protocols observed, my sincere gratitude to President Mahamadou Issoufou of Niger for bringing us together this evening ahead of your summit tomorrow. At the outset, allow me to congratulate African leaders on the launch of the African Continental Free Trade Area, the Zone de Libre-Échange. We of the United Nations, headed this evening by my boss, the Deputy Secretary General, an exceptional world leader, a proud daughter of Africa, Sarawina Amina Mohammed, join the African Union in celebrating the achievement of this zone, which is highly significant, especially for the young people of this continent. And this year, as we celebrate the 50th anniversary of the United Nations Population Fund, UNFPA, and the 25th anniversary of the International Conference on Population and Development and its program of action, we've been with Africa every step of the way. It was on this continent, in Cairo, in 1994, 25 years ago, when African leaders proudly proclaimed a future in which every pregnancy would be by choice, a future in which girls would no longer face childbearing in their tender, immature years. Tonight, as we reflect on our collective journey since Cairo, the question is, what has changed for Africa? And considerable progress has been made across the continents thanks to your leadership. African women's access to family planning has increased. Over the last 25 years, skilled birth attendance by qualified midwives has also increased, cutting by half the risk of women dying in pregnancy and childbirth. In West and Central Africa, for one example, the death and childbirth rate has fallen fully by 1/3. These are concrete results. These are results of your own efforts to invest in human capital. This is also a concrete example of how African Union-led initiatives, such as the brilliant Campaign on Accelerated Reduction of Maternal Mortality in Africa, CARMA, can bring about change. And the First Ladies have played an instrumental role in CARMA. Allow us to applaud you. Since Cairo ICPD in 1994, there are equally important strides that Africa has made in other areas, like our fight against HIV and AIDS. No, we're not completely there yet, but let us acknowledge that the HIV landscape has definitely changed. It's not what it used to be. And tonight, it's an opportunity for us to celebrate that leadership as we walk towards the Cairo commitments. Excellencies, distinguished guests, we at the United Nations are honored to be with you, united as a staff and delivering together with you in this African journey. And African leaders have put women's empowerment and investments in youth at the center of African priorities, dedicating 2017 to the theme Harnessing the Demographic Dividend Through Investments in Youth. And this morning, we heard leaders of the Sahel celebrating the strong results achieved so far through SWED, the Sahel Women's Empowerment and Demographic Dividend. This is a homegrown, country-led, country-owned initiative backed by the World Bank and many other key partners. Tonight, we congratulate President Issoufou, who initiated the SWED right here in Niamey. Its innovative initiatives like SWED and those engaging the private sector, faith-based organizations, traditional leaders, religious leaders, these show the power of partnerships that prioritize women and girls. These investments are saving lives. They're creating hope, and they're transforming economies. They're evidence of your strong commitment. And we have made progress on this journey towards the Africa we want. As we make strides to finish the unfinished business so that every woman who wants can meet their family planning needs, 1 in 3 women now married by age 18, and to change the 1 in 3 women who are disrespected by sexual and gender-based violence. The Africa we want is an Africa with 3 zeros: 0 gender-based violence, 0 death in childbirth, and certainly 0 unmet need for family planning. President Mandela once remarked, "The mark of great leaders is the ability to understand the context in which they're operating and act accordingly." So fortunate for Africa that such leadership exists here today, producing tangible results. When the African adolescent girl gets to fulfill her potential, as is her due, there is ample evidence that the return to be reaped on that investment is at least 10 times and can be up to 120 times more. When we convene in Kenya in November, led by Kenya and Denmark, commitments will be made to strengthen the future of the young people of this beautiful continent, and in particular, the African girl. Please join us in Nairobi in November. When the African girl gets to fulfill her potential, Africa too will prosper. As I close, meeting with African girls just this afternoon, they asked me to carry their message to their heads of state, and I promised them that I would. And it's a simple message. Girls want to stay in school. Girls do not want to be married as children, and they want you to enable every African girl to fulfill her dreams. Tonight, I want to thank you on behalf of every African girl child. Merci.